we've been talking about, of course, with AI is, again, a couple of areas that, of course, each of us are kind of interested in. I'm obviously looking at kind of I'll bring the perspective of how repository workflows and search and reporting are going to be influenced by AI development. Cyril, the library dean at Cal Poly, will explore how libraries are adapting to some of this AI discovery and curation. And then Pramita is going to chat with us a bit more about these are all great things, but again, how is Elsevier going to be leveraging AI to enhance that research quality that we keep talking about, while also safeguarding that integrity? So those are kind of the areas that we'll be chatting about. So starting with the repository, essentially as you know, of course, our repositories are only as strong as the metadata and all that accessibility. And so we're looking at ways in these kind of areas of how do we leverage that intelligence or that faster way of solving old problems, I should say, to increase capacity, to increase accuracy, and of course, to increase integrity. So the things that are on our roadmap, obviously, number one, something that we're considering is this metadata automation. It takes a lot of time to get all the metadata that you need in order to ensure that your content is as discoverable as possible. There's also a lot of error-prone opportunities in there where you might get bad metadata that might actually get in the way of it entirely. So are there ways that we can use machine learning, text data mining, other sorts of items to extract or generate the right content? And again, as Yvonne and I were speaking about earlier, I wait for the day when I don't have to say human in the loop, but I think we're going to keep saying this for a few years until the message gets in that none of these are meant to be like, great, set it and forget it, and all things will be well. With metadata especially, accessibility checks, all these other items on this list, humans need to be a part of not just the automated part, but then the editing, curation, and bringing in your expertise. That's something that preaching to the choir, but of course our lovely GBTs and whatever else can't do for us, can't replace our expertise. So something else we're considering and exploring is, again, I talked about accessibility for our core platform and for your content as well. There's also opportunities for us to use that to detect and say, oh shoot, we have gaps, we're missing pieces, and how do we then go and fill in the gaps? Alt text is a great example of how do you have images that don't have any alt text? Does it have poor alt text that then you can go and build upon? And so those are the areas that we're exploring, along with curated support. Again, this recommended tags. I don't know if you're in the Google group, but I think 6 to 12 months ago, one of the admins had created their own GPT to map DC disciplines against their content. So that's a thing that we're like, well, shoot, that's a headache. We don't want headaches with the platform. So that's one thing that we're exploring. How do we use that, again, as a way to generate ideas that you can then approve, disapprove, et cetera, and then we can continue to improve the model. And all of that is with the lens of staff efficiency. How do we make sure that that allows you to not worry about the drudge or the day-to-day, but think about the big picture stuff that we've been hearing about throughout the conference. So that's on the workflow side. As we look then to what's the impact potential is how do we use AI or other sorts of tools like this to increase discovery? This might be things like semantic search or LLM ranking. Again, as we were talking about earlier, it's like the definition of good might change, the definition of discovery might change a bit, and these are things that we need to be mindful of as we move forward. Expanded reach. I think we worry a lot about AI taking away some of those eyeballs. In fact, there might be more opportunity to broaden them. They just might be different eyeballs. We had the blue eyes, and now we go get the green eyes or something like that. Quality engagement. Again, there's different things. We looked at the dashboard today. I alluded to it's a great first step. There are more steps to be taken of what does quality look like? Is it a different amount of time on the metadata pages? Is it a different backlink that we now need to go and measure that as well? Are there other related works that maybe the more number of pages that one hits in a single session? Those are different things we'll want to measure because of the way that we're going to try to integrate all of our content. We've got some great examples from Cyril that we'll hear later. Scholarly and societal influence. The name of the game, of course, continues to be impact. That's not going to change, and there are ways that we can, of course, explore. Are there different measuring sticks, citation, policy mentions, teaching adoption, that also change the definition of what good looks like? And is there ways that we can use AI generically to go and surface that up? And then what might be very interesting, and actually Cyril alerted to this earlier around press releases, that idea of bringing in the narrative piece. It's not just data, they're trying to tell a story. And telling stories, it takes time, guys. Again, it requires our expertise, but are there ways that we can use a layer of generative AI within the dashboard or other parts of the repository to tell our stories differently and tell them at scale and customize for different audiences, form factors, conventions, et cetera. So those are things that we're very excited about exploring of what would be important to you in terms of, shoot, I have to do a press release every 2 weeks, every month. I have to do an annual report. Probably just once a year if it's an annual report, but et cetera. So those sorts of report outs or stories that you're looking to tell, what are those use cases and how can we accelerate some of that? Again, amplifying your intelligence with, again, just kind of searching for those diamonds in the rough. And then I kind of alluded to a lot of that, but again, turning all of the repository usage into actionable insights is, again, that last layer for us, at least on my side of the repository, around how do we make all these data points more meaningful. We talk about metadata so much. There is benefit and that we're not yet realizing of finding all those hidden patterns. Benchmarking, we talked briefly about that with the DC network. And is that something where you would want to compare your IR to other IRs, other disciplinaries, other regions, anything, to give a new definition or a new layer of insight around what good looks like. And then one thing else that we're excited to explore is this customizable report idea. Again, how do we deliver our annual reports more intuitively and at scale? How do we share them more with people around the organization? That sort of thing. So these are all experiences that we're cracking through. There's some short-term, some long-term on operational improvements, repository improvements, and general insight sharing. So that was rapid fire. Over next, we want to have a lot of time for a couple of perspectives here. Over to you.
Okay. I'm going to jump up here. I'm going to talk a little bit from another angle. So Krista shared some really exciting potentials and possibilities that we're thinking about in conjunction with the community in terms of all of the potential benefits that we can bring to the repository. I was joking when we put together our presentation that our title is From Buzz to Benefits. And my role is to talk about the bummers of it. But no, really, these are also benefits of AI. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how Elsevier is actually working with the research community to to harness all of these benefits of potentially of AI, but to be doing it in a responsible way and to be sharing some work around research integrity. So I wanted to speak more broadly from Elsevier as the publisher perspective and share some of the work that's been happening. So Elsevier is very committed, to safeguarding against fraud, against some of the growth of predatory publishing that we've been seeing, and in working with the broader publishing community to come up with standards, technology, and practices that will help support all of us as we enter this brand new age for all of us. So I wanted to share a few of those, few of the projects that we've been working on. So one is growing the research integrity specialists. We have a publishing ethics center of expertise that's being built on the STMJ side. This is supporting research integrity. And some of the work that's being done on this side is actually like looking at potential cases of fraud and investigation. So setting up, humans that are looking through specific cases. So we do have this center of expertise that's working with our publishers and editors. Secondly, we're also working on the side with technology and tools. So we've been exploring of incorporating tools that are out there, like Proofig, which looks at image manipulation with AI. So incorporating those into some of our editorial tools, like Editorial Manager. Other work that we're working on is a tool called Check Integrity, which helps look at author fraud that can come up and occur, some citation dashboards to safeguard against some of the ethical processes that we've been hearing about, especially we heard about a lot from the Scopus team on Tuesday. Thirdly, we're working on policies, education, and awareness. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with the wonderful resources on Researcher Academy, and I've put a link to it here so when you have access to the slides. Wonderful resources for editors, researchers, publishers, et cetera, on creating great practices. So a lot of this information and knowledge that we're gathering is out there in educational modules, and as well as sharing ways to create policies to support author verification in the submission process, limitations on self-publishing in work, some of the issues around endogeny that we heard about before, et cetera. And also rubrics. I think we've been talking a lot about rubrics in these sessions. So some really great tips for rubrics there. And then finally, we're working really closely with the publishing industry to develop community standards. Again, it's a new age, a new era. We're learning as we go, so we're working really closely with COPE, with the STM Integrity Hub, with United Act, and other organizations to develop those standards. And as we develop them, we're trying to communicate them out as fast as possible. So I wanted to share some of those safeguards that we're creating. And in the digital commons context, this is something where we do our webinars, we're putting things on our help center as well. So just as Krista's been creating an accessibility hub, I will see that we'll be having a lot of information around research integrity and publishing ethics on that site as well for journals. Okay, thank you. And now I'm going to hand it over to really some futuristic thinking. I'm going to set you up, Cyril. So Cyril Oberlander.
Thank you, Pramita. Thank you all very much. I will share that over there are a newsletter and bookmarks, and great way to promote your books is actually bookmarks, even though they're ebooks. And of course, there is a glider because we are a library that has a flight simulator, so please enjoy them. And I'm here to share a little bit about our work, but I do want to share that a practical tip before I go off in the future stuff. A practical tip I'm willing to show you during lunch is download one of your latest publications on Digital Commons and upload it into a AI of your choice and ask it to do a market press release. And I'm able to show you that in different ways. But I also want to use this to illustrate why we did what we did. It's great for one PDF. It's great for 10 PDFs. If you have Notebook LM, it's great for 50 sources, including websites and videos, and you can produce podcasts and videos. But what if you have 6,500 PDFs? You have to do something different. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about. Ooh, cautionary tale, I like that one. So, how do we want to explore the ideas of AI? Well, I love to use basically through the looking glass as my metaphor because it's so adventurous. And if you ever want to do a marketing press release that is super fun, ask your press release agent, AI agent, to be in the voice of the Cheshire Cat. It is super fun, funny, and very good at picking up tone. Now, in this, what we're often seeing is AI is everywhere. So you see it in Google search as an AI overview. That's important because what it's trying to do, which has long been lost in Google, is provide context, because that's important in research. They've been seeking that for a long time. That's why they put Wikipedia as the third entry in a Google search results for years. They needed context. Now they can provide it. Can we? We see AI in everything, whether we take a picture of a plant and we say, what's that plant's name? And then an AI agent wraps the information around, identifies it, and it gives you the results. There are so many different ways to look at AI, it's quite remarkable. On your phone, you can take a picture using Google Lens and say, I want to look at that formula, and I want it to detect the text, and I want it to give me the process for finding the answers. Isn't this exciting stuff? This is wonderful. I love it. What's not to like? Well, there's so much going on. Here's VitalSource, which is the source of a lot of the access code textbooks that provides automatically generated questions. Now, this last couple of years, they've been doing extensive research in how they employ automatic generation questions and what are the results. They did it for 8,400 textbooks, 334,000 students, over 5.3 million questions. What were their findings? Not much difference between human and automatic questions. This is a huge impact on human labor, both on the positive side and the negative side. Now, we're seeing AI in discovery for years. A semantic scholar has done it for a great while on research. Now they do it as their reader, so it helps you actually understand the documents. What are the goals? What are the methods? And you can have a conversation about it. How unusual is that? A conversation with a PDF. These are important tools that we're starting to see as important for the reader. Readers are changing their behavior. Learners are changing their behavior, and we have to adjust. So we challenge our computer science students with projects. We love to do it. One was we want a conversational search engine with our different repositories. Yes, we have multiple. And we'd love to put the UN sustainability goals as tags in Digital Commons. And well, Sorel, he goes way off and says, we should really connect community science with academic science. And that's what started the idea of Ask Alex Humboldt, which is a customized AI largely built by one student and a team of librarians and staff from ITS and me. What we did is we started with Digital Commons, where we said we want to look at our Digital Commons content with a new way of searching. We also want to look at Content DM. We also want to look at ScholarWorks, which is the CSU system. How do we do it? Well, let's talk about a use case. Imagine if I were looking up Bigfoot. Where is Bigfoot? Now, for those of you not familiar, Humboldt is an area that they think Bigfoot exists. Other terms are Yeti, Ohio man, and all these other terms. But if I don't search for those terms, I don't find those. So I can do a Bigfoot and location search in our Digital Commons and find 48 results. Isn't that surprising? But there are so many different words for this. So what did we lose? Well, we actually lost the research that's connected to this. So we need to find ways to infer at the discovery phase and the metadata phase. So when I ask Alex Humboldt, which was built to look at our Digital Commons content, it said Bigfoot lives in our minds and in our collective consciousness of culture. It gave the citation directly to Digital Commons. However, if you're looking for a place, here's two other citations. In effect, it's answering the question that is very difficult to search, but is very often the way our learners think about asking questions. So the beauty of this is we figured out a way to search across 6,500 PDFs in a new way. How did we do that? You may not want to know this. But it took a student only about 4 months to generate an agentic AI that's pretty darn sophisticated. It required RAG, which is a retrieval-augmented generation, and a database that's created by chunking, I love that word, which is creating triples of all the words in the PDFs. Now, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Let's talk about it in very simple terms. Here's the PDF. We used Docklin and other ways, Ray data, to process all those PDFs into just text. And we structured it the way the LLM would connect with it. So we didn't change the LLM. That takes way too much energy and way too much work. We just simply created a database that's called a vector database that the LLM refers to. Now, the beauty of that is it's super easy then to actually go back to the sources. It's not like asking an LLM, where's Bigfoot? Because it won't cite our work, excuse me. Now, we use Gemini, but we also tested a number of other LLMs, including an open one. Agentic RAG systems are really important to look at for digital commons, whether it's integrated as a service or it's something you want to do. It's super easy because the API in digital commons allows you to pull all the PDFs down and create the vector database. But the agents are incredibly important. You want a retrieval agent, you want a writing agent, you can add more, a metadata agent. Our Ask Alex Humboldt gave us a report of automatically generated keywords and summaries of all the PDFs. Do we reintroduce it into digital commons or not? Very powerful tools. Our next steps are we're adding Content DM, ScholarWorks, a number of other resources. And why? Adding a graph rag. We're actually going to also put it on a little nano, those little darn small AI computers that only take 200 watts because sustainability is important. It's because we want to inspire learners, because the way people read and think is entirely different. And libraries are about not just books, but they're about how do you experience inspiration and curiosity. So when you're going through the stacks, it represents a lot of the knowledge that came up from the academy. Knowledge is actually far more out in the world than we usually imagine. If you are familiar with citizen science, you know that there's millions of people participating in understanding science in a very immersive and inspiring way. Over 8 million iNaturalist users take pictures of animals and insects and birds all around the world. They identify the location, and it's now one of the most cited works that you often see in Science Direct as a data source. Creating immersive environments are incredibly important. We created the world's first three-dimensional digital herbarium, and it's a way for students to actually teach people about the science of botany that they love. And it was super hard. Reading, writing, learning, it's all changing radically fast. We think of things as turn the page, but today most people think of scrolling down the window of their screen. We have to imagine different ways of producing content and engaging content. And AI is one of the ways to do it. It's one of the ways that we can actually create engagement. We can do the things like quizzes. We can do things like videos with questions, with interactivity. And today's learners are expecting that. And so we have to find ways to make our digital commons that immersive experience because it's important to connect with our community at large. These challenges are huge, but not so huge that you can't ask students to help create that solution. Because they're the ones who are imagining this future, and by giving them the opportunity to create it with you, it is wonderful. Whether it's how do you create fun learning within reading a wonderful bearberry story, or it's where's Bigfoot? So we do project-based learning and meaningful impacts for a reason. You'll see in the newsletter, we talk about internships. We do a lot of software development with students because they don't know what they don't know, which means they don't know how difficult something is. But they're gonna learn and they're gonna develop what we think of as a solution. And the outcomes are that they have a real world experience that they can say, I'm ready for the job of tomorrow because I actually did this here at the library. So when you think about all the challenges that we have in our future, in our day-to-day, and with AI, think of the students as the solution to what we do with AI, because they're amazing. I really appreciate your time. And if you're wondering, this is one of the AI things that I did, which is I uploaded a picture of the cat in an 1872 version of Through the Looking Glass. And I said, hey, generate a funny image of the kitten in front of a mirror, looking at a reflection of a kitten, but the kitten is a robot version. And here we go. If during lunch you'd like to see examples of a press release of one of your digital commons assets or one of mine and some of the things I've done, I'm happy to show you. But there are so many tools that are freely available now to make your job easier, including press releases. We love our works. We want to showcase them. Let's make AI do the work of creating the press releases for us. Thank you.